What's up everyone, Steven here from Charge Overland. This video is all about the user interface in the Rivian R1T and R1S. I'll be covering all the screens, all the menus, displays, settings, basically everything you need to know about the controls in a Rivian. And I'm hoping to go over some features that maybe you didn't know existed. Now, this is going to be a long video for sure. There's a lot to cover. So if you're here to learn everything you can, you've come to the right spot. If you are looking for a specific topic, I do have chapters bookmarked in this video so you can skip to something specific if you just want to learn about that topic. Now, I am in an R1T, but I will be showing the screens for the R1S as well. I'm also in a Gen 1 vehicle, but the screens, displays, and interface between Gen 1 and Gen 2 Rivians are basically the same. So if you're in a Gen 2 vehicle right now, you should be seeing almost exactly the same screens as I'll be showing in this video. All right, we have a ton of stuff to cover. Let's get started. All right, so we'll start with the bar on the top of the screen here. First function is just lock and unlock doors. That's these two buttons here. And then there's a little truck icon. This gives you access to a bunch of different functions. So you can open your charge port door from here, open the frunk. You can turn the lights on either of the mirrors, fold the mirrors. On an R1T, you have access to the truck bed, gear tunnel, tonneau cover if you have that. And you can also turn on your interior lights or the truck bed light from here. Obviously, if you've got an R1S, you'll have access to the functions of an R1S, like your liftgate and your rear lighting. And then there's another button up here that gives you a few shortcuts to other functions. So you can turn on your outlets from this menu. The outlets are not always on because they drain the battery when they are running. So you can set a time up to basically 3 days, and 3 days I think is the max. Or the truck will shut off the outlets if the range drops below 30 miles. That's a spot where you can turn the outlets on. There's a few other places in the menu that we'll see later on. Car wash mode is also accessible through here. This just gives you an easy way to wash the exterior without the door handles popping open or the charge port popping open. Pet comfort, you can also turn this on here. I'll get into that a little bit more when we go over the climate control settings. You can turn off the displays if you're trying to clean your screen and you don't want to be touching all the buttons. Rear display you can lock from here, and then the window locks are also able to be toggled from here. If you hit that little pencil, you can choose which windows are locked, and you can essentially lock or unlock any of the windows except for the driver window. So that's the drop-down menu for shortcuts and access. So next are the driver profiles. I've got myself and Christina in here. You can add new drivers, but you have to do that from the Rivian app. Once you've got a driver set up, this is where you can adjust the steering wheel. And to do that, you use the buttons on the steering wheel itself to change the position. Same idea with the side mirrors. To control the left side mirror, you're using the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. Right mirror, same idea. And then if you move something around, it will prompt you to remember if you want to remember that position, or you can restore to your previously saved position. Also, you'll see this little note here. If you move the seat around, it's going to save the seat position as well. So basically, if you get in the vehicle and things are not in the place they're supposed to be, you can just hit restore and it'll go back to wherever you saved your steering wheel, mirrors, and seat position. Okay, one really quick thing to cover before I go to the next icon. If you press and hold on your name here, it's going to take about 5 seconds to do this. And then you'll get this pop-up vehicle diagnostic captured. So this will log whatever's going on in your truck. And that way, if you need to set up a service appointment or call Rivian support, they are able to access this information and hopefully help you fix whatever's going on with the truck. All right, next to that menu are the garages. So this is how you open your garage door. I've just got one saved here, but you can add multiple garages. This little plus icon lets you add a garage. And it'll walk you through the steps to do that. It's pretty straightforward. And basically when you press this button, your garage is going to open. I'm not at home right now, so my garage won't be opening. At least hopefully it won't be opening, but that's how you open your garage. There's also a prompt that will come up in the center driver display when it senses that you're close to home. So you can actually open the garage through a button on the steering wheel as well, which is really nice. All right, next to that is the Alexa icon. So if you have Alexa enabled, which I'm going to disable right now, otherwise she'll think I'm talking to her. If you have Alexa enabled, this icon will show up here. You can press the scroll wheel button to start activating Alexa and say or ask for whatever you need. So I'm going to go into the user's manual actually for a second here. We're going to go to phone and media, Alexa, and things you can ask Alexa. I'm not going to list all these off or read all these, but there are a lot of different functions you can use Alexa for. So I'll just slowly scroll through this so you can see all of the options. Lots of climate and comfort, media, music, navigation and charging, phone and communication, and then there's a couple other miscellaneous things that you can ask as well. So there's a lot of different voice features that you can use Alexa for. All right, next to that are your notifications. I don't have any right now, but this is where things will pop up, like if you've got low tire pressure, if there's an update for your truck, basically any type of notification that needs your attention will pop up here, and you'll actually get a little yellow icon when there is a notification for you to check out. Next to that is the hotspot. Toggle that on and off with this button. There's a QR code that you can scan to connect to the hotspot, and you obviously have to have LTE signal to be able to use the hotspot. This gear will let you change the name and password of your hotspot, and you can connect up to 8 devices using the hotspot as well. Then Bluetooth, this is pretty straightforward, just shows phones that are connected to your Bluetooth. Same idea here with adding a device in the plus. The gear will let you delete or change what syncs in the devices that are connected to Bluetooth. And then Wi-Fi is next to that. I'm not connected to Wi-Fi right now. That's why it's got the little X there. But it will show you the strength of the Wi-Fi signal when you are connected, and it lists all the different networks down here that you can connect to. You've got your temperature here, LTE signal, and then your time. I'll show you a little bit later in the video how to change the time from 12 to 24-hour format, and you can also change the temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius if you want to do that. So that covers the top bar of the main screen. Okay, really quickly before I switch over to the next segment, this bottom bar here with your app icons can be customized. So if I swipe up, it's going to show me all of the apps that are available, and the 4 along the bottom here can be changed. So the one on the right, you'll see when I have that bar minimized, is just going to show your most recent app. To the left of that, all these are customizable. So if you had specific apps that you wanted to use or have available more frequently, you can just click and drag those down and it'll replace whatever's there. So it's cool that you're able to customize this bottom bar based on whatever you use the most. Okay, let's talk about climate control. There are 2 buttons on the bottom left and right of the screen here. Both will access the same menu. First button is to turn the climate control on and off. We're going to leave that on because it's pretty warm out today. Then you've got your mirror defrosters, your heated steering wheel, and pet mode, which I will get into in just a minute here. Next feature is a very cool one, which is climate schedule. So you can set a specific date and time or day of week where you want the climate in your Rivian to be at a set temperature. So say you live somewhere where it's really cold, and when you leave work, you want it to be nice and toasty in your Rivian. You can set your temperature in here, your defrosters. Rivian calls these surfaces, but this is basically your heated seats and heated steering wheel. So we'll turn those on just so it's nice and warm. And then you can also set this to use energy from a charger if you're going to be plugged into a charger so it doesn't drain your battery. The pencil will let you name your schedule if you want to do that. And then when you're ready, you just hit save. And now with this schedule that I've set, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m., my truck's going to be nice and toasty when I get in. You can toggle these on and off. And if I click on it, I can change it if I decide I want to use a different feature or set the temperature differently. When I update it, I can click update and it will save that. Or if I want to delete it, I just click delete here. This button is for your AC. So when I turn that off, you'll notice the vent color kind of grays out. Sync will sync the temperature from your driver's side to your passenger side. And then obviously you can change the temperature on the pass side independently if you want to as well. Next button will take air from outside your truck or recycle air from inside the cabin. And then auto, I'm not going to press this now because the fans are going to go crazy, but that will keep the set temperature that you have and just adjust the fan speed accordingly. Then fan speed, I can adjust down here. A cool feature you might not know about is if you want to set the fan speed all the way to max without tapping this 5 times, you can just press and hold the plus button. And same idea to turn it down. This also applies to temperature. So right now, if I want to set the temperature to high, I'd have to click like 15 times to get to high. Instead, I just press this button once, hold it down, and it will set the temperature to high. You'll also notice the temperature you have set will change the color of the vents in this display. Back down to cold here. Then you've got your heated steering wheel again, vented seats and heated seats. So I can control all those from here. Once you have one of those selected, again, you can use this visual display to turn these on and off. So if I tap the seat, it will turn the vented seats on as well and toggle through the different speeds. To change the position of your vents, you're going to grab these pills here and move them around. And one thing that if you've used this system, you'll know it's a little hard to get the fan positioned correctly, and I think Rivian noticed that. So they've created a preset option. So if I get the fan directed in a spot that I like, I can save a preset. And then I can also save a second preset. Go to B here, save that. So now I have 2 position presets for where the vents are aimed, and I can toggle between those. And you have the same option for the passenger side. Those are independent of the driver side. So you get 2 for driver and 2 for passenger. This is a really nice way to get the vents set up in the right spot and save that position. And just looking at this illustration here, again, I can click on pretty much anything to turn on features. To turn off a vent, you just tap on it. And then the second row, I'm in an R1T right now, you'll be able to turn on the vents below the seats or in the center console. If you're in an R1S, you're going to have a 3rd button here for the 3rd row controls. Okay, another nice little feature to note, you see all the controls are on the driver's side right now. If I press this from the passenger side, they're going to show up on the passenger side. So this is a nice thoughtful feature. If you've got someone in the passenger seat trying to control some of the climate options, it's going to show up on that side when you click from here, and they'll show up from the driver's side when you click from the driver's side. All right, finally, let's go to pet mode. This is definitely just to be used with pets, but a pretty cool feature. When I turn this on, I can set a temperature range for the interior of the cabin. Now, this will only let you go, as you'll see, down to 68 degrees and only as high as 74 degrees. So the temperature range is 68 to 74 degrees. Other than that, it's going to keep the cabin nice and comfortable for your pets. And when you're outside the vehicle and it's locked, it will actually show on the main screen a big display letting people know that pet mode is on and your pets are comfortable inside the vehicle. All right, so while we're on this screen, let's talk maps, GPS, and navigation. So first button up top left here is the search button. You have general points of interest that are available to select here. So if I pick food, it's going to give me a couple options in the area, and then to navigate there, and just press go. So to show how this works on a short trip here, I'm going to get an overview of the route. It's going to zoom in when it's ready to start. It'll show your miles to destination, the time it's going to take, and your arrival time. And it'll also show how many miles you'll have on arrival. I do wish this also showed percentage. Hopefully that's something that will get updated. If I hit this button, it's going to give me an overview of the whole route to my destination. And then the plus will let me add another stop to the navigation. And obviously it's going to end the route and navigation. If I hit this little arrow here, another spot that I can add a stop, and then you can also move things around. If I had another stop or multiple stops in here, I can rearrange the order of them or delete stops from this menu, which is really nice. And then if I pull down on this bar, I get a full breakdown of the turn-by-turn directions. Now this navigation view can also show up in the driver display, and it gives a little easier at a glance navigation if you're using the large screen for something else. One thing to note is this volume button generally controls your music, but if I press this, I can also control the volume of my phone and navigation from this menu as well. So if you want to be able to hear, well, this is kind of tripping out right now. If you want to be able to hear the chime or the voice prompts for navigation, you can tap that, and then that top button will allow you to turn that up or turn it all the way down. You can also control your Alexa volume from there as well. Let's turn that off for right now. That's pretty much it for a short trip. What I'm gonna do though is send us on a longer trip here. Had this selected. Let's go to Death Valley. It's the hottest it's ever been in history there right now, I think. So seems like a good spot to visit. Let's turn this down to 0. So when you plan a longer trip, if I go to the trip overview, it's going to add charging stops for you. When you do this trip summary, it's just going to show you the first segment to your first charging stop. If I zoom all the way out here though, it'll show the charging stops that it's added to the route. It gives you a time that you're going to spend at each of those charging stops. And then the little icon here with the 3 electric bolts shows the speed of the charging station that you're going to be at. So 3 is the highest. That would be a fast charger. So if I turn this off, go to the trip details, you'll notice the charging stations have an A next to them, and that's a rating for those specific charging stations. So the Rivian navigation now has a rating system for charging stations, and it'll be a B, C, D, F. I've never seen an F, but basically gives you an idea of what charging stations are working properly and at the speeds they have advertised. So if I wanted to go to a destination and say I didn't like the route that Rivian had planned for me, or the charging stops, I can remove charging stops from this portion of the menu. So again, if I hit this arrow here and click remove charging stops, it's gonna take those away, but it's gonna obviously let me know that I'm not gonna have enough range to get to my destination if I don't stop to charge. I can hit continue anyway. So if you were in a situation where you just wanted the Rivian navigation to route you to a spot and you were planning out your charging stops separately, this would be the way to do that so it didn't route you to a charging stop. Now, if you did that on accident and you want to get it back, just click add charging stops and it's going to add them back into your itinerary. Everything else is essentially the same for a long trip. Turn-by-turn directions all here. It's showing you your arrival mileage when you get to the charging station. Again, how long you're going to spend at the charging station. I do want to quickly touch on the navigation through the Rivian app because there's actually some pretty cool features in there that you can use that I don't think are yet available in this main screen menu. So I'm going to pop over to my phone right now and show you some of the navigation stuff on there. All right, we are over on my phone now. If I hit the little icon at the bottom middle of the screen, it's going to take me to my trips and map. And from here, I can start a new trip, set the destination to the same spot we were just trying to go to, Stovepipe Wells in Death Valley, this ill-advised trip to the hottest place on earth right now. So I can do a lot of cool things with the phone here. First of all, I can set what my departure range is. So if I am planning out a trip and I'm gonna say leave with, let's crank it up to 85% battery, can do that in the app here. And then also I can set my departure time. So let's say I wanna leave tomorrow and I wanna leave in the morning. This will help me plan with traffic. We're gonna go 10 a.m. Okay. You can select which networks you want to use. And then you can also set, this is a really cool feature, you can set your preferred arrival range. So if I want to get to a destination and I don't want to arrive there with low battery, I can say like, okay, I want to arrive here with at least 50% battery. Go done. What drive mode am I going to be using? If this is mostly highway, I'm going to set this to conserve. But very cool that you can set the drive mode that you're going to be using. And if you're towing a trailer, you can also add that. So I'm going to apply all those options and plan trip. And it's going to take a second to calculate the route. Again, it's going to give me charging stops along the way. It'll give me an overview of those charging stops. By leaving with 85% battery, it's only having me stop once to charge, which is cool. And then if I like this route or this trip plan, I can actually send it to the truck with this button here. And now you'll see that route has been added to the truck. The only thing, I don't have 85% battery, so it added an extra charging stop. But assuming I was actually leaving tomorrow morning when I said I was going to leave with 85% battery, this extra charging stop would not be here. But it's really cool that you can send the trip to your phone. So that's a very useful feature and lets you really dial in your battery percentages if you're planning a trip. All right, so we are not going to go to Death Valley because, yeah, it's just a bad idea right now. Now, while the app has a lot of ways to get you dialed in for a trip, there is a way to set your preferred range on arrival through this main screen. It's a little bit strange how you get there though. And if I pick a destination and start the trip, it won't let me change anything. But if before I go somewhere, I click on details, you'll get this button to adjust some settings. So here you can avoid highways, ferries, or tolls, but you can also set your preferred range on arrival. So you can dial this all the way down to 1%. If you just barely want to get to your destination and charge as little as possible on the way there, you can do that. Or if you're going somewhere and you want to arrive with a good amount of charge, you can go all the way up to 90%. Now, once you have that set, you can apply it once, which would just apply to the trip that you're going on, or you can use it always. And then anytime you navigate somewhere, the Rivian's going to try to get you to that destination with that set charge. Refresh will just set it back to the default, which is 20%. You can also set preferred networks. It's going to default to Rivian, of course, but if you have other networks that you trust, that you want to use, I would select those as well because it will prioritize Rivian networks along the route. Okay, so this is just kind of a quick way. It's a little bit weird to get to this, but to be able to set your preferred range on arrival. Okay, you can also set a pin on a destination if you want to navigate to a specific point. So I can pick a spot on the map here, just press and hold. It will drop a pin and let me navigate there. So if you don't have something where you can type in a destination, you can also navigate to places using the drop pin feature. This top button allows me to change the orientation of the map. And if you're in the 2D view, using two fingers and pushing away from you, you can actually change it to more of a 3D view. The little box icon with the exclamation mark lets you share feedback. This is kind of like Waze in a way. So it'll let you know if there's any issues. It actually won't let you know. It'll let you tell the system if there are any issues with how the GPS is working, or if there's a road closure that's not showing on the map. So this is a cool thing to be able to give feedback into the Rivian navigation so they can keep things fully up to date. The gear, again, lets you control your audio volume. You can also do that down here like I showed earlier. Just another way to do that. You can choose what audio type you want for navigation. It'll either make a chime noise or you'll get speech directions. You can adjust your map orientation through this settings menu as well. And you'll see there's a little orange strip here and here. It's probably a lot more if I zoom out, these little red strips. So that's showing traffic. If you untick that box, traffic will not display on the map. And then you can also clear out your searches, save destinations, and recent destinations with the navigation settings menu. I don't think I covered this. The star is basically your saved destinations. You've got a home and work that you can save, and you can save multiple different destinations in this menu. Pencil will let you edit the home and work destination. Back over here, this icon is for charging stations. So this will display all of the charging stations in your area or in the view that you have on the map. And there's some ways to edit what this shows. So speed obviously is going to show you different speeds of charger. You can make multiple selections, and if you have them all unselected, it will show all of them. Same idea with network. You can pick specific charging networks. Hide lets you hide, as it says in the name, specific charging stations. I'm not sure why you would want to show incompatible chargers, but if you don't have that selected, it will. You can also make sure you hide out of order chargers. And now with the Tesla network being available, you do need an adapter, at least for most of the Rivians as I'm making this video. So you can hide charging stations that need an adapter if you don't have one already. Obviously, if you have an adapter, no need to check that box. Last button down here toggles a satellite view. I prefer this cleaner map view. It's a little easier to read, but if you're into a more detailed satellite view, that button will do it for you. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is how this map shows up in the driver display directly in front of you. So the default is just your kind of 3D looking map view. When you have a destination set, you will see an overview of your directions, and you'll get that blue line to highlight the route that you're going in. So this is a nice feature to be able to have the navigation right in front of you and easy to take a look at if you need to without using the large screen. That pretty much sums up maps and navigation. All right, let's cover the music app. Your top left function is radio. To turn that on, just this power button here. You can touch and scroll through radio stations. Using these forward backwards arrows will just switch you to the next available station. And when you're scrolling, it's gonna automatically kind of sync up with available stations. It won't just drop you in static, which is nice. This button just gives you a keypad so you can enter a specific station if you wanted to. To favorite a station, you're just gonna hit this heart, and then it will show up here in your saved stations. And obviously you can do that with multiple stations. And then to unsave a station, just click that heart again, select the station, and it will remove it from your favorites list here. You also get a full list of available radio stations that the radio is picking up as well. Next icon is Spotify. If you've used Spotify before, this one's really straightforward. You're basically gonna log into your Spotify account, and then you'll have access to all your playlists, artists, albums, everything you have on your Spotify app or on your computer will be available in the vehicle. One quick tip here, if you click this button, you're gonna show your Spotify settings, and I have my music streaming quality set to very high. So this should help you get the maximum quality music into your Rivian. So just a little tip there to get the best sounding music from Spotify. All right, next is TuneIn Radio. I don't use this, but you can connect to TuneIn Radio and use that if you have an account. And then you've got Tidal, again, not a service that I use, but it is supported with the Rivian UI. And before I start talking about this one, we're gonna turn that off so she doesn't start listening every time I say Alexa. So this tab is for Alexa. You can play Amazon Music here, or just ask general questions, listen to audiobooks, basically anything that you would do with Alexa that's related to audio and streaming. And the last icon is gonna connect you to your Bluetooth phone. So if you had a streaming service that wasn't supported with one of these apps here, you can play music just directly from your phone. It's a pretty simple interface for that. And then finally at the bottom are the settings for your audio and music. I do have a launch edition R1T with the Meridian sound system. That has since changed. So if you've got an early Rivian, you'll have the sound system. Some of the newer Rivians do not have the same sound system. And I think the Soundstage Center will not be available as a setting. So just one thing to note here. So on the left, fade and balance, little button at the top right resets that to center. Soundstage Center will move the music from left to right, basically. You've got your EQ settings up here. There are a few presets for different types of music, and you can customize these on your own if you want to. And then same idea here, to reset, just tap. 3D surround sound, I'm not sure exactly how this works, but I do find that it makes the music sound better. So I've got that on. There is an enhance setting, which I haven't noticed as much of a difference with, but I'm not a huge audio expert. So if you are, maybe you've looked into this and fine-tuned it to the perfect level. I just leave that on and it seems to work pretty well. And then dynamic sound adjustment is going to adjust the volume based on what speed you're going. So as you go faster and there's more road noise, it'll turn the volume up ever so slightly. You probably won't even notice a difference, but I keep this on high and it works really well. So when you do have music playing and you go to, say, navigation, GPS, any one of these other apps, you'll have a little box that pops up on the right that will show your current music. You can pause it here and forwards and backwards on those buttons. Pretty straightforward again. Okay, and I did cover this in one other segment, but here's your volume. And if you click the top of this, you'll have access to the volume for not only your music, but your phone, navigation, disappears on me too quickly, and Alexa. So you can control volume for all sorts of different apps that you're using in the Rivian and control those individually, which is pretty cool. And then mute is going to mute all of them. When you undo that, they'll go back to where they were before. And then finally, I can control the volume with the roller toggle on the left side of the steering wheel, as well as switch between tracks using the left or right hand buttons on the left of the steering wheel. Okay, we're gonna jump ahead to the future really quickly here. Rivian will be supporting GoogleCast in a very soon to be updated version of the UI. So you'll be able to share videos to the main screen in your Rivian, as well as watch YouTube in your Rivian. So you'll see on the bottom middle of the screen there's going to be a new icon app to be able to GoogleCast and stream YouTube. This is a pretty awesome feature. I don't have it in my truck yet, but as I said, it's coming very soon. So I wanted to make sure I covered it in this video. All right, let's talk drive modes here. One thing to note really quickly before I get started, I am in a quad motor truck, and that means I'll have access to all 9 of the on-road and off-road drive modes. If you're in a dual motor, you're just gonna have 3 drive modes: all-purpose, snow, all-terrain. And then if you opt for the all-terrain upgrade, you will get the soft sand setting. So if your menu on the left here looks a little bit different and you're in a dual motor truck, that is why. Okay, so here I've got on-road and off-road drive modes available. There's all-purpose, conserve, sport, and snow. And this latest update for the drive modes is really cool with how the transitions happen between the different drive modes. To manually adjust your ride height, you can do that down here with these arrows. And then if you have it set on auto, it'll kind of control your ride height based on your speed and location. There's 3 different ride feels, anywhere from firm, moderate, to soft. And then regen, which is basically how much the motors help you slow down so you don't have to use the brake pedal. You can control the regen from here, anywhere between low, high, and standard. I know some people really love this. I'm one of those people. It's awesome to rarely ever touch the brake, but it definitely takes some getting used to. So if you're getting into a truck and this is your first time driving with regen, probably best to start out on low, get used to it, or maybe you go full pull and just start on high, but it's gonna feel really jerky until you get used to kind of modulating the accelerator to use that regen, but pretty cool feature. Stability, you can toggle between reduced and on, and then to completely turn it off, you actually have to press and hold here. And then if I go into my off-road drive modes, you've got all-terrain, rock crawl, rally, soft sand, and drift. When you go into soft sand, it will prompt you again to make sure you're in soft sand, because it doesn't want you using this mode when you're not in sand, I think it can really mess with the drivetrain. So I wouldn't recommend using soft sand unless you're actually in soft sand. So again, really cool to see the transition between all the different drive modes and how it animates. Love how this screen looks. It's super cool. And this has been updated pretty significantly from when I first got my truck. All right, we're gonna go to all-terrain here. You'll notice too, the height options, depending on the mode, are gonna change a little bit. So when I'm in off-road all-terrain, I can go standard, high, and highest. But if I was in conserve mode, for example, on-road, it's not gonna let me use the 2 higher ride heights. So to access the highest ride heights, you're gonna have to be in off-road mode. Okay, the other really cool feature with drive modes, if I swipe to the left here, is I get an overhead view of the drivetrain. It's going to show me as I move the steering wheel here. You'll see the wheels move. And then as I'm driving, I'll switch to that quickly as I talk here. You'll notice that the power will show up in the display here when I'm accelerating or using energy. And then when I'm using the regen, it's gonna show a green bar to show that I'm regenning. So it's really cool to see all of that happening as you're driving. Back to this screen here, you've got a whole set of gauges and widgets on the side. Compass, elevation. When you're in off-road modes, you'll see your pitch and your roll. And then you've got tire pressure and motor temperature. If I go back to on-road, those widgets on the side here are gonna change a little bit. Basically, this 2 in the middle are just gonna switch. So now I have my trip computer and I've got my battery temperature over here. That little refresh icon would let me reset the trip computer, and I can toggle between 2 little menus at the bottom here that show the average miles per hour, how long this trip has been going, and then it'll display my efficiency and how much energy I've used. And you've got an A and a B trip computer as well. So overall, this is a pretty awesome feature of the Rivian to have these different drive modes. If you use 2 fingers here, you can kind of scroll around in the view that you're in as well. You'll notice the bushes move a little bit, the trees will sway in the wind. It's cool to see these interactive environments as you're in different drive modes, and I really like it. The image of your vehicle obviously is going to change based on what your vehicle and spec is. All right, so the other thing I want to cover quickly on drive modes is just how they display in the driver display. You've got a couple little icons that will show up on the right side of your driver display to show you what drive mode you're in. And at the bottom right corner of your driver display, you also get to see what ride height you're in. So it's just a quick, easy way at a glance to get an idea of your drive mode and your ride height. The last thing you'll notice is this bar on the right side of the screen, kind of this half circle. This is your power meter or power bar. And depending on the drive mode, again, you will get either a full access to the full power of the truck if you're in most of the drive modes. When I'm in conserve though, that half circle bar is going to shrink a little bit just because it doesn't let you use all of the energy available or power available for the truck, so you can conserve energy. As I'm driving, again, this is kind of moving based on whether I'm using energy or whether I am in regen. And it's a pretty cool way to see how you're using energy as you're driving. Last thing to cover in drive modes is the little icon here for trailers. I don't tow, and I don't want to speak too much to this setting, but I will just give you a quick overview. You essentially can set up profiles for different trailers. It will adjust your range estimate after a little bit of driving, so the truck actually senses what the hit to your range and efficiency is going to be, and it'll give you a new estimate for what your range will be based on the trailer that you're towing, which is really pretty amazing. It will sense when you have a trailer connected, and this is going to give you all the info on your trailer. Now, if I hit this drop-down menu, I can have up to 3 different trailer saved in this menu. Little pencil, I can name them. So if you had different types of trailers that you were using, you could save them here. Again, I haven't really towed with my truck, so I can't speak too much to it. But if you do tow, I think this is a pretty cool feature, and this is where you access it. So this icon is for your cameras. Right now I'm in a park, but I've got a front view and an overhead view of the truck. You can also switch between the front view camera and your rear view camera with this icon down here. And then with the R1T, I actually have a truck bed view. I've got a rooftop tent mounted there, so you're not going to see much. But if this wasn't there, you would see a nice view of your truck bed. And then the icon to the left here lets you switch between that overhead view and a view where you're seeing basically the side of your vehicle where your wheel and tire is. And again, I can toggle this main view between front view and rear view there. Personally, I prefer this top-down view. It works really well and it gives a good idea of where I'm positioned. But that is how your cameras work. Let's talk energy. This is the screen that you're going to be using when you're charging. Gives you a little more detailed information about your battery. So obviously I'm showing my current state of charge here, and then what I've got my charge limit set to, which is 70%. You can change that over here with this toggle, and you can set this to whatever you want above 50% as your limit. And then they've got some preset options for you as well. Most EVs, if you're kind of new to this, will recommend that you don't charge to 100% all the time. This helps with the longevity of the battery. So Tesla does this, other EV makers do this as well. Your recommended maximum charge is anywhere from 70 to 80%, I believe, in most EVs. So that's why you've got these options here. When I'm on a longer trip, I will crank this up to 90, 95, sometimes 100 if I need the range. During my week or daily commute, I just have it set to 70% as my max charge. And there's a little info here that Rivian has on each of those different selections as well. Now it's showing my miles based on my drive mode as well. So if I click here, it'll give me the range estimates based on conserve, all-purpose, and sport. This will change with a dual motor because you don't have conserve and sport, but you're going to get your range based on your current charge and your range based on when you have a full charge. I've never reset this because I want it to just be an average of my entire time with the truck. But if you did want to reset this, it would start to calculate or recalculate your range numbers from the point that you reset it from. Outlets can be turned on in this menu, and I had shown earlier you can also just access outlets from this quick drop-down shortcut menu as well. But there's multiple ways to do things through this UI system. You can set a charging schedule. You can have it off daily or set to weekdays, and this is pretty self-explanatory. I use this when I'm at home, so when I'm charging on off-peak hours, which gives me a little better energy rate. And then down here, you can set your charging amperage. I'm not techie enough to know what settings you would want to use or when you would want to change this, but I think generally it's fine to just leave it as it is. If you know more about this, drop a comment below. You can adjust your charging amperage with that menu. So what I'm going to do now is actually plug in just to show you what the screen looks like when I'm actually charging. Okay, so we just plugged into a charger. Obviously pretty big text here letting you know that you're charging, but there's a couple other little pop-ups that give you some information on your charging session. This is showing me the charging speed and the amount of kilowatt hours of energy that I have put into my truck so far. If I tap that, it's going to show me the charging speed in miles, and again, the number of miles of range that I've added to the truck. So you can toggle between those two. This will show you how long it's going to take to get to your set charge limit. So right now I've got 70% set as the limit. I am plugged in to a level 2, which is a very slow charger right now. So that's why it's saying it's going to take almost 5 hours to charge 17%. But obviously if you were charged into a Rivian Adventure Network charger, the time is going to be significantly shorter and the charger will be faster. You can also tap that to display what time approximately the charging session will complete. You can stop your charging session with this button here, and then the bottom button lets you see the summary of the whole active session. Now you've got this charging display on the main screen. It is also showing up on the driver display as well. Very similar information available on the driver display. And as I toggle the button for the current session, it will let me change the info on the driver display as well. So those two bottom right sets of numbers I can change using the buttons on the main screen. All right, so what I'm gonna do is set the limit to our current battery state of charge, and that way you can see what it looks like when we complete a charging session. So it's gonna give you that complete text, and then your session summary will again show all that information that I went over earlier about your charging session. And once I leave the charger and start driving, you still can access your most recent charging session from this screen. All right, the phone app is really straightforward. You've got an option for favorites. You can go to your recents. There is a contact menu with all of your contacts, and then a keypad to be able to dial numbers. Bottom left will let you switch between connected Bluetooth devices. When you go to make a call, it will show up on the right side of the main screen, and then it will also show up in a small bar on your driver display in the bottom left corner. You have a few controls that you can use on the steering wheel to accept or end a call, and also the middle toggle wheel will let you mute the volume. Okay, we are in the GearGuard app, which is basically Rivian's security system for your vehicle. The first option here is drive cam, and essentially you can plug in a USB or hard drive into your center console USB-C port, and this will allow you to record anytime while you're driving. So if you're driving somewhere really beautiful and you want to have all the cameras capture everything you're seeing, you're able to do that with the drive cam. Next is incidents. These will automatically save under heavy braking or any other situations where the camera automatically turns on while you're driving. If you got in an accident, for example, this would be recorded here. Motion cam. These are events when the vehicle is locked and you are not in your vehicle. So if you've got this on, basically, if you're parked and people walk up to your vehicle close enough, it will record. If someone bumps your truck with a shopping cart, it will record that. So this is essentially your security camera when your vehicle is parked. And then you can star videos as well, and those will be saved here. There's a cool little Easter egg video that's included with the Rivian. I'm not going to play that for you, but when you get your truck, give that a watch. It's pretty fun. Okay, and then this button is for your settings. You can turn on drive cam from here as well. I actually need to do a system restart because my drive cam would not work right now if I had a USB plugged in, which I don't. Incidents, that's going to default to on. Again, any collisions or hard braking, it will automatically record that. Motion cam, you'll notice as I turn things on, the GearGuard guy here adds more equipment that he's holding, so it's a cool visual representation of what he's got going on to keep your truck safe. Motion cam you can turn off at home, so if you don't want it to record if you're parked in the garage or at your house, that's an option to do that. You can have it always on if you want, and then it will always record no matter where you're at. And then the alarm, again, that's going to default to on, just like a regular alarm, but it will also record incidents when your vehicle is parked as well. And that's basically it for GearGuard features. All right, you join me now in camping. This portion of the UI is really cool. It wasn't available when I first got my truck. This is an added thing that's come in the past year and a half, I think. But some really awesome features here. First thing you'll notice is this cool scene with fire going, just a cozy campsite. And to the left are the camping features that are built into the truck. The first one is Camp Courtesy. This works great. I use it all the time and basically keeps your exterior lights, the sounds when you lock the truck, and your proximity locking and unlocking from working. So it's gonna just shut those things off temporarily when you've got this Camp Courtesy set on. Basically, when you're walking around camp before this was a thing, your truck's gonna auto unlock, beep, lights are going to turn on every time you walk by it or walk away from it. So this is a really great feature to use. You've also got access to the lights that are on the side of the mirror. If you need some extra light at camp, you can turn your displays off if you're trying to save a little bit of energy. And the outlets are also accessible in camp mode here as well. As I covered earlier, you can set a time on these based on how long you need the outlets, because when the outlets are on, they do drain battery. So my recommendation, if you're gonna be using the outlets, just set it to the time that you need for using the outlets, and don't go beyond that because you will drain your battery just having the outlets turned on. This next one, level truck, is such a cool feature, and because the Rivian R1T and R1S have an air suspension, you're actually able to level out the truck on slightly uneven ground. Now, this won't work if you're on a crazy steep hill. Can't work miracles or levitate the truck, but on partially uneven ground, it'll level your truck out. So if you're sleeping inside of your vehicle or you have a tent on the roof or truck bed, you're gonna be nice and level. You'll get a prompt ready to level. You just press that button, the truck's gonna level out. It does take a minute or two to do that. You can get out of the vehicle, but the doors can't be open. So as soon as I open the door here, it's gonna say shut all closures to adjust ride height. Now I could get out of the truck now and just hang out outside and do whatever I need to do, and it would continue to level, but the door does have to be shut to do that. So just something to note there. And then manage energy. There's two pretty cool options here. If you're sleeping inside your vehicle, R1T or R1S, more likely than not, probably the R1S, because there's a lot more room in there for sleeping inside. But you can keep the vehicle on so your climate control will stay on. You can stay nice and cool or nice and warm inside the vehicle, and it won't shut that down after a certain period of time. Or if you are outside your truck and you don't really need to use it, you can select stay off, and that's gonna keep only the minimal features available. So you'll still be able to lock and unlock your truck, open up the doors and things like that. But otherwise it's gonna do its best to conserve battery. So this is a nice feature to use when you're at a campsite or just in a spot where you really wanna maximize your battery savings. Okay, so for now that covers all the features of camp mode. There's been new things getting added every so often, so you may be watching this video and there may be a couple new features, but as of right now, those are the features of this camping app in the Rivian. All right, we're now on the owner's guide app. Just another icon here. There's a massive amount of information in here. I'm not gonna get into it in this video, but basically anything that you might have questions or need information on, you're gonna find it in this owner's guide. It's very thorough. There's a search bar as well, which is a great feature. So if I was looking for info on outlets, I could type that in. It's gonna give me anytime outlets appear in the owner's guide, and there'll be in-depth information on all sorts of stuff. So massive amount of things to look into and geek out about in the owner's guide. Apparently back in the day, there used to be like paper books that you had to look through. I'm just kidding. I was definitely around when that was a thing. But yeah, it's nice to have a digital version of an owner's guide and be able to search for whatever information you need on your vehicle. All right, we're gonna pop over to settings and go through some of the information here. First tab is for vehicle related settings. And the first option is displays and lighting. You can adjust the display brightness here. Display theme is basically whether you're in daytime or nighttime mode. Currently I have it on auto, but if I turn it to night, it's gonna get pretty dark here and it'll switch over to that theme. Auto will just control it based on lighting. This is where you can turn your accent lighting on. You can have the lights open when you open the doors and also control the brightness of the overhead lights. There's some exterior feature lighting options in here as well. Some to do with your functional lighting like automatic high beams. There's also interactive lighting. So when you lock and unlock the truck, you'll get kind of a startup sequence with the lights. That's pretty cool. You can have your light bar turn green when charging, as well as the Rivian compass that lights up on the ground when you unlock the vehicle. Guide lights will use a dim version of lights to kind of help you see at night after your vehicle is locked. And you can also have the charge port stay green even when the vehicle is locked if you want to do that. Next menu is for access, quick controls in park. I went over a little earlier, but that's this guy here. This will automatically pop up when you put the truck in park if you have that selected. Some key fob and unlock settings here. Basically what happens when you put your vehicle in park will unlock just the driver door or all doors. Proximity locking, basically it'll lock or unlock your vehicle when you approach with your fob, your phone. One thing to note that I found works really well and is a nice thing to be able to turn off is locking behavior at home. So I have that set to off. If you don't, and your vehicle is parked in the garage at home and proximity is on, you're gonna notice as you're walking near your garage, the vehicle will unlock, it'll chirp, it'll make noises, and then it'll automatically lock if you're a little further away in the home. So this can get definitely very annoying if you're at home. So if you're experiencing that, this is where you turn that off. Turn locking behavior at home to off, and it will not do that. A couple other options for locking here. And then for ease of access when you're getting into the vehicle, you can actually have it lower ride height when you get in, as well as set a position for your seats and steering wheel to make it easier to get in the vehicle. Some side mirror options as well. And then just being able to turn on your power hood and tonneau cover is also available in this menu. Next is Driver Plus. So this is the adaptive cruise control, highway assist options. Basically, first selection is to have that on or off. Forward collision warning, I keep this on, and in other vehicles I've driven, sometimes it gets a little annoying because it will warn you too early, I feel like. But this one works really well. Honestly, I hardly ever have it kick in. You can have it set to warn you a little bit earlier if you want that, and it will automatically brake if it thinks you're not going to. You've got lane departure warning, but basically just lets you know if you're drifting out of your lane. Blind spot view, this is a fairly new one, but when you turn your turn signal on, you'll get a little camera view in your driver display that will show you your blind spot. So this is a nice feature to have. If you don't like that popping up in your driver display, just unselect that. Also, blind spot warning will give you an audio chime when someone's in your blind spot and you put your blinker on. Park assist, again, pretty standard feature, but as you're parking and getting close to objects, it's going to slowly beep louder and louder at you and give you a visual warning of where objects are around your truck. Rear accessory mode is a very nice feature if you're putting, say, a bike rack in your trailer hitch and you've noticed the parking sensors still go off when you're in reverse because it's detecting an object there. Turn this on and they will not do that. So nice feature and thoughtful thing to include there. Automatic cameras will display cameras in this big screen as you shift into reverse or drive just for a little bit. Rear cross traffic warning works very well, I've found. If you're backing out of a parking spot and you can't see cross traffic, it will alert you when someone's coming. And then you've got your automatic high beams and regen braking. If you did want to turn that off for some reason, this is where you do it. Okay, if you're looking to change your clock from 12 to 24-hour time, this is the part of the settings where you can do that, and also where you can adjust your units from imperial to metric or any strange combination you wanted if you wanted to do a custom setup, changing temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and also what pressure your tire pressure displays at. Also in the driver display, you can have the battery displayed as miles, percentage, or both. Updates are obviously going to show you when you have an update ready, and it'll also show you the current system you're running in your vehicle. When you go to details, it's going to give you a summarized document of all the things that came in your most recent software update. You can also turn on automatic software updates now, and you can set a time for those, as well as select whether or not they only install at home. So if you were away from home and you didn't want updates to install, you just have this box checked and it will not do that. Okay, in the service menu, some basic service things that you can access. Wiper service, screen cleaning. If you want the screens to be off so you can clean them, you can do that here. When you change your tire, you actually have to put it in tire change mode. So you don't ever want to try to change your tire without checking this box and turning that on. Also, if you're taking your Rivian to a tire shop and they don't know about Rivians, I would make sure you just let them know that they need to put it in tire change mode when they do that. If you're towing the vehicle on a flatbed, I guess this would be an option that you would want to select. Show and tell is a really cool hidden feature. I'm not sure why it's in the service menu, but essentially when you get out of your truck and the lights are on, your doors are generally going to be unlocked and the door handles will be popped out. If you wanted to have the vehicle sit with the door handles nice and flush, looking clean, and the lights to stay on, this is where you do that. Service mode gives you access to a lot of very detailed information about your truck. There's a specific way to access service mode. It's not just turning this on. I'm not going to go through that in this video because I don't really think it's necessary. But if you really wanted to know how to get into service mode for your truck, a quick search will find you an easy step-by-step way to do that. You've got a toggle for vehicle shipping if your truck's going to be shipped. Driver position calibration is going to try to calibrate your driver's seat and steering wheel based on what's comfortable for you. I haven't used this yet. I just set it on my own, but you can do that here. And then you can clear your settings. If, for example, you were selling your truck and you want to get rid of everything, it won't let you do that with just a touch of a button, but that's where you get started to clear out your settings. These we went through in the top bar portion of the video, but we'll just run through them really quick again. Bluetooth is access here. You can pair devices and delete them from this menu. Wi-Fi also accessible. Can connect to Wi-Fi networks, find networks, and manage them here. Same thing with hotspot. You can change the name of your hotspot and the password in this menu and turn it on and off. Your garages are shown here. You can add multiple garages, up to 16, I believe. That would be a crazy amount of garages that you need to access, but if you need to, you can do it here. And then lastly, the dock, which my truck has the camp speaker in, but I think there may be some other accessories coming that lock into the accessory dock. So this is where you can lock or unlock that. Your apps are pretty simple at this point, just media and Alexa. The Alexa menu is going to give you some options for what you share with Alexa, what sounds are played, and then I showed this when I was going through the top bar, but we will do it again. Actually, let's do it right now while we're on the Alexa tab. So if I go to Owner's Guide, phone and media, Alexa, things you can ask Alexa. So go over this one more time really quickly. These are the commands that you can ask for from Alexa, a summary of them. Obviously not going to read all these out, but I will scroll through it fairly slowly here. And essentially, there are a lot of different things that you can use Alexa for. Okay, we're gonna go back to settings. So that pretty much sums up the Alexa part of this menu. Drivers and keys will show any driver profiles you have on here and what keys are associated with those driver profiles. And to add keys to a profile, you have to use the Rivian app. So you can't do that from this screen in the vehicle. If I click on a driver profile that has keys assigned, it's going to show all the different keys, details on them, and it'll even show you if your key fob battery is low, which I didn't know, so need to change that. Data and privacy. So if you were someone who didn't want to share any information with Rivian, you just wanted to drive your truck, you can turn off your location. Any data that's being saved will not get sent to Rivian. So if you wanted to kind of keep everything to yourself, you can do that here. I've never turned these off, but I think if you turn some of the navigation and driver feature location sharing off, it's probably not going to work as well as it should. So I can't really speak to that, but I personally don't really care if this stuff gets shared. But if you don't want it to get shared, you can turn it off in data and privacy. Legal stuff, yeah, not much to go through here. And then your about is going to show your truck name, which you can change. Your trip computers are also accessible here. And if you click on them, you'll get a summary of all the stats for each of your trips, and you can reset them from here. And then you get all the details on your truck in this menu as well. Okay, you join me here in the second row. This display has quite a few different functions built into it. You've got lock and unlock for the doors on the top left here. There's 4 icons in the bottom left. The first one is for the outlets. Same idea as the main screen. You can control the time that the outlets are on and turn them on from back here. And what is nice is there is an outlet located on the underside of the console back here in the second row. So it's easy to control them from where the outlet is located. Just swipe down to close that out. Next, you've got hotspot. You can turn this on or off, or have your second row passengers scan this giant QR code to connect to the hotspot. And then you've got your interior lighting, which can be toggled on and off from the back here. Next is Bluetooth. So you can switch between Bluetooth devices with this menu. In the center is music or media, whatever's playing. You can use this timeline to skip to any point in the song or media. You can shuffle tracks, skip rearward, skip forward, pause, and play here. Also like a song. And this button will give you the up next playlist. I'm using Spotify right now, so the menu will be a little bit different with the radio. Volume is controlled here as well, so you can turn that up and down. And then there's also a mute button back here. Top right is climate control. This one's a little bit limited right now, but I'm hoping more functionality gets built into this. I cannot control the temperature from the second row or the fan speed right now. If you have an R1S though, you can control the fan speed in the third row, so that is an available option. Other than that, you're able to set where the air is coming out of. So this lets you have air in these center two vents here. And then you can also have it coming out at the feet, or you can turn it off completely. And the other buttons are just for the heated seats on the left and right side. Last one, this will display as a compass if you don't have any navigation set. But when you do have a destination set, it's going to show you your time to arrival, how many miles, and what time you'll be arriving at your destination. You can click on that and it's going to give you an overview of that segment of your trip. And this is really cool if you've got someone in the back seat, like kids, who are wondering when you're going to get to your next stop. It gives them a very clear display of that and also what your next stop location will be. Okay, and then finally, if you don't want any functions to be displayed in the second row, you can lock the second row screen. You'll just get a clock showing up here. And there's one little Easter egg here. If you do tap this too many times, Gear Guard guy is going to pop up and give you a wave. Pretty cool. All right, the driver display or the screen in front of your steering wheel has some pretty important information on it as well. So we're going to cover that now. On the left side of the screen, you've got a couple different options for what you can display. First is the map, which I'm showing right now. If you use the buttons on the left side of your steering wheel, you can change that from map over to an efficiency chart. This will show your efficiency over the last 15 minutes of driving. And then if I hit that button on the steering wheel one more time, you'll be able to see your tire pressure. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if over time Rivian starts to add more functions that you can see on this left side of the screen, but for right now, those are the available options. In the center, you've got a top-down view of your truck when you're in park, and this will live update if any of the doors or openings are open. And then on the right side, you're going to see a text that says ready. This just lets you know that the truck is ready to be driven. And the drive mode that we currently have selected, all terrain, and our ride height is showing up at the bottom there. And then the bottom left of the screen is showing our state of charge. All right, so if I press the brake and shift into drive, you do have to press the brake to shift, just in case you're wondering. You'll see hold will display first. So I'm not pressing the brake or the accelerator right now. It's just holding the truck stopped. And then you'll notice the center view of the truck has changed a little bit. As we get out and start driving, I'll show you how that display updates, showing cars around you and the lanes and all that good stuff. But just starting to move here, I'll press the accelerator slightly. You'll see the speedometer pop up there on the right, displaying your speed. And that half circle bar will show how much power you're inputting in yellow. And then when I slow down to regen, it will light up in green. Okay, before we get on the road and drive, I do want to show you the view that pops up for the parking sensors. So as you slow down or come to parking speed and approach objects, it's going to give you a visual indication. As I try to get close to this bush in front of me here, it will show you when you're starting to approach an object. So the little bars are going to light up yellow, then orange, and then they'll go to dark red, and the beeping will increase the closer you get to an object. And once you reach that one at the end, luckily it won't continue to beep at you, but you'll see the dark red lines right at the front of my truck right now. Now these are available around the entire vehicle. So if I had something close to me on the sides or the rear of the vehicle, I would also be seeing those bars in this top-down view. Okay, let's get out and do a little driving, and I'll show you some of the other functions of the driver display. So as we start driving, you'll notice there's more information in the center display. It shows the vehicles around you, the lanes you're in. It will give you a camera view when you use your turn signal, and you can turn this off if you don't like it. You also get blind spot sensors, which will show up in the rear of the vehicle that you're seeing here to let you know someone's in your blind spot. And again, with this camera, it gives you a good view of your blind spot when you're changing lanes. Now from there, the display doesn't change too much. You have your speedometer again on the right, the power bar, which is that half circle to the right of the speedometer, and that's going to light up yellow when you're using energy, and it will show green when you're in regen or gaining energy back. To activate the adaptive cruise control, you're going to push down once on the right-hand steering wheel stalk. You'll see the speed that it's set to in a blue circle at the top of the screen, and these little bars in front of your truck will show the spacing to the vehicle in front of you. Adjusting your speed will be the same for both cruise control and highway assist. Basically, you're going to use the buttons on the right side of the steering wheel. If you just tap them once, your speed will change by 1 mile an hour. If you press and hold them, it will jump by 5 miles an hour. Next, to activate highway assist, you first need to make sure you have the little icon showing next to the posted speed at the top of your screen. Once you have that, you know you're on a road that you can use highway assist on, and you can push down twice on your steering wheel stalk to activate highway assist. Now this mode will steer for you and keep you in your lanes, as well as maintain a speed. You'll get those same markers in front of you to let you know what the spacing is to the vehicle in front of you. And then when you use your turn signal, you'll get a little icon with an arrow that pops up that will let you change lanes and keep this mode activated. So once you're in the new lane, you do have to steer to change lanes on your own, but once you're in the new lane, it will reactivate and keep you at your maintained speed that you had set. And the scroll wheel will adjust the spacing to the vehicle in front of you. Now I am in a Gen 1 R1T, and the Gen 2 R1T and R1S have a better set of cameras and sensors. So the highway assist should actually be improved from the system I'm showing here. I'm guessing there will be more advanced features for those vehicles, but this should give you a really good idea of how the system works. Okay, let's cover the 3 reset procedures for the Rivian. The first one is just letting the truck sit so it goes to sleep. You'll do this by making sure you're not plugged into a charger, the vehicle's locked, and you're not using any of the USB ports. Once the vehicle sits for 30 minutes or more, it will go into sleep mode. The next is a soft reset for the infotainment. To do this, you're going to hold the far left and far right buttons on the steering wheel for around 15 seconds. And this should fix minor issues you're having with screens, if your hotspot's not working or navigation is doing something weird. This soft reset is the one to use for that. Finally, there's a full reset of the system. Now, I do not recommend doing this unless you absolutely need to. If you're having something that's really not working properly, this is the final thing you're going to want to try. And to do this, you're going to hold the far left button on the steering wheel while you hold the 4-way emergency flasher button for 15 seconds. You'll see the screens go dark, and then reboot, a Rivian logo will pop up as the system resets. And once you've done this, you are not supposed to do another full reset for at least an hour. There are certain systems that take a while to fully turn back on after this reset. So again, this is something you only do if you're really having a big issue with the truck. Okay, while most controls are done through the touchscreen in your Rivian, your SOS button and your 4-ways or your hazard lights are controlled using these buttons in the overhead console. And then there are a symmetrical set of buttons on the left and right side of the steering wheel. You've got a button on the left, a scroll wheel in the middle that also serves as a button, and a button on the right. Okay, and these buttons on your steering wheel can control various functions, so they don't always do the same thing, but most of the time, the scroll wheel on the left is going to control the volume of your audio, whether you're listening to music or on a phone call. If you press that button, it will pause your music or mute audio when you're on a phone call. And then the left and right buttons, if you just press them once, will skip track forward and backwards. Now, if you hold these buttons down, This will allow you to switch between the different display options in the driver display. So the buttons on the right side of the steering wheel are primarily used for cruise control or driver plus functions. You'll be able to set the gap to the vehicle in front of you, control your preset speed, and a few other things in driver plus. All right, to quickly cover the steering wheel stalks and steering wheel controls, the stalk on the right-hand side behind your steering wheel is going to control park, reverse, neutral, and drive. To put the vehicle in park, you're just going to press the button at the end of the stalk. And then to shift into a gear, you do have to press the brake. If you push up, it's going to put you in reverse. If you hold down slightly, it will shift the vehicle into neutral. And then if you push down all the way, it's going to shift you into drive. Now, I'll show the driver plus functions in just a little bit here, but those are also controlled with this stalk. One push down while you're on the highway will put you into basic cruise control, and then a double tap down will put you into highway assist. The stalk on the left side of your steering wheel controls your wipers and lights. The button will activate your windshield washer. And then this first toggle here is going to let you set your wiper settings. There are 3 auto settings. From there, you can turn the wipers off completely. And then there is a sprinkle, drizzle, shower, downpour, and storm mode. And then this inner toggle here, closest to the steering wheel, controls the lights. Those will be defaulted to auto. If you scroll down, parking, and you can turn them off all the way at the bottom. And then up from auto, you've got just lights, lights and front fog, or lights and all fog. All right, you made it to the end of this video. Hopefully you found all the information here useful, and hopefully I was able to show you a thing or two that you didn't know about your Rivian. Now, the app for the Rivian has a lot of functionality built in as well. And for the sake of not having this video be too long, I'm going to separate that out into a part 2 video where I walk you through all of the features in the app. In the meantime, if you're new here, welcome. Would love to have you as a subscriber on the channel. I'll have that part 2 video of the Rivian app coming out very soon, and I'll see you out on the next adventure.